Good morning to everyone out there in the Matrix. I hope everybody's doing well today. Haven't been around in a while, haven't done a video. It's kind of a hectic world, but I thought I would shoot out a quick video today. I'm having my Golden Arches coffee, which kind of borderline tastes sour. I'm not sure if the cream was sour or whatever, but anyways, here's to me. I left the supermarket a while ago, and just an observation. Even now, I notice that 9 out of 10 people were wearing masks and gloves, which makes me think that in the long run, when the vaccine is ready, and for most of you that already know, because mainstream media has reported this, that the military is ready to help dispense the vaccine to Americans. What I want to say here in this video is something that I noticed from the very beginning of this. And it has to do with the programming, one aspect of it, the programming. They have been telling us that a second wave is coming. And there's a little bit of irony with this because that big national weather channel, apparently meteorologists are now scientists and doctors. And in a redundant manner, say over and over and over and over what it is we need to be doing. So I'm guessing, not unlike Bill Gates, which I guess now is a doctor or a scientist, also meteorologists are doctors and scientists that are telling us what to do. Does anyone find that a little bit suspicious? Is it just me? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is. Here's the thing. This programming that we have been hearing from the beginning of this farce, in my opinion, at least presently, about this second wave that they have been programming us with from the beginning of a coming second wave. Here's my question, and it's a question and it's valid. Could we already be in the second wave? And there's a reason I say that. Not only myself, but many people that I know in my general area, back in October and November of 2019, many of us got something. And it actually was very similar to what they say these symptoms are now, being a cough, a dry cough. And sometimes you will hear them saying that there's a lot of fatigue. I had that. And you would not believe the amount of people that I know that said they had those same symptoms in October and November of 2019. These are simply observations, and it's more throwing out a question. Are we now in the second wave? The second wave being with this alleged CV. Because, and another question, could that CV have already been dispersed in the United States and unleashed on the American peoples? And make no mistake about it, our government is not above doing that type of thing. All you have to do is go back to the 60s when they infected African Americans with venereal disease, unbeknownst to them. And then in the 80s with the infection of homosexuals with HIV, which, if you were to really dig into that HIV, you would find out that it in fact was introduced into the homosexual community under the guise of a hepatitis C vaccine. Now, that information has been buried. I will guarantee you 100% it has been buried. But in the early 1990s, on PBS, I watched a news conference of leading doctors and scientists in this country that said just that, that homosexuals were given a vaccine for hepatitis C. Now, if you're aware of PBS, they generally will air things over and over and over and at different times so everybody gets a chance to watch it. And going back to the early 90s, this piqued my interest. So I was going to watch it again, but guess what? It was pulled. Absolutely disappeared from PBS. They never aired it again. So the reason I bring that up, let's just say the first wave, when we were infected, some of us or all of us, back in October and November of 2019, to give an incubation period or something. Another question, what if now, because see, I know I know that these demonic entities, they work on inversion and deception. What if in fact we are now in the second wave? The second way being, given all of these months that have passed since October and November of 2019 and infected tens of millions of people, most likely, already before this alleged pandemic and our subsequent lockdown of the world, what if we had already been infected? But the second wave that they have been talking about repeatedly has more to do with this vaccine that they are talking about now. And just to backstep, the testing, because it came out that those testing swabs, actually, many of those were infected with CV. Hmm. So, just in case a few people slipped through the cracks and didn't already have CV, they swab your mouth and they give it to you. I'm just saying, do your own research and think about it yourself. But what I'm getting at here, what if we are already in the second wave? The second wave being forced vaccinations and having nothing to do with any kind of inoculation against CV, COVID 19. What if it's something else? It's something to think about, honestly. Something to think about. One other thing I would like to add, if you don't know what a prepper is, maybe you could put that keyword into YouTube. But there are a large group of individuals that are known as preppers. They just recently, over the last few days, were scrubbed from YouTube. And these individuals, and if you're able to still find any of those videos, these people are highly intelligent. You can just listen to them and tell that they know what they're talking about. They're not like me rambling. Okay? These people are intelligent people. Over the last few days, and I'm not sure how they were able to do that, but they took screenshots of their YouTube channels and there was no content. It had been scrubbed, and it was more than one prepper. And these preppers, besides the normal thing of the preparedness and setting in food supplies and telling people how to grow food, and also be able, when the time comes, to protect your food and your family and your home. They were also talking about what is transpiring right now worldwide. Does anyone but me think that this is by chance, that these highly intelligent people would get their YouTube channels scrubbed? I think it is. Because when I would listen to them, they knew what they were talking about, in my opinion, and it was valid. However, it was contradictory of the official mainstream narrative, being the World Health Organization. So in order to not make this video real long, maybe we are already in the second wave. And the second wave is going to be this vaccine that most have probably already heard of is the second wave. Now, I'm not saying that they are not going to get on TV and say that there is a resurgence of COVID 19, because they have to keep up with their official narrative. But could there be more? Could it be to entice people, force people into getting this vaccine? And unfortunately, from what I see when I go out into public and make observations, over 90% of the people will walk right to the slaughter. 10%, maybe a little less than 10% of people are not going to line up for a vaccine. This is where the United States military comes in, unfortunately, in my opinion. There are reports coming out of California that, considering California is very communist, in my opinion, have already come out in mainstream media saying that that state will cut people off of social welfare programs if they are not vaccinated. And believe you me, California has a lot of people on social welfare because it's a communist state, like many other states in this country. Not all, but there are quite a few. So this second wave that they have been programming us with from the very, very beginning, could it be here now? You get cut off of your social welfare benefits, which people with no doubt need, even before this COVID-19. Many Americans need that, even before COVID-19. Is it going to get to the point during this second wave where, in order to go back to work, or if you're already working, to continue working or to go back to work, it will be mandatory for you to have this vaccine? my thoughts are on this, yes. And even for some of us that have already returned to work, in order to continue working, are we going to be forced to take this vaccine? It's a good question. And considering the sheer amount of people that I knew in October and November of 2019 that got that dry cough and fatigue leads me to believe that we are in fact in the second wave and not waiting on it. The second wave is connected to the narrative that they're giving out about this CV, but could the second wave be forced vaccines, or you're simply cut off from your livelihood or wind up in a FEMA fund camp? It's something to think about, y'all. I really, and while, like I said a while ago, when I went out, 9 out of 10 people were wearing masks and gloves. But there's going to be a small minority of Americans, and probably worldwide, that are not going to go for this. And while this gets little attention, there are protests around the world about the lockdowns and the vaccines. But I look at these live streams when they're happening of these protests, not a lot of people. That's their choice. If the majority of people want to get a vaccine that is not tested and we don't know what's in it, more power to you. What about the minority of us that do not want to play that game? My thoughts are on that is that they would deal with us swiftly. If you're able to find any of the prepper channels still active on YouTube, you might take some time and pull it up and listen to a few of these preppers, because as far as I go, they are in the same mindset that I am. There's more than meets the eye here. So, my thoughts, we're not waiting on a second wave. The second wave has already been here. The second wave is when they put us into lockdown and are now actively doing the testing, and in very short order these vaccines are going to be on the forefront. It's something to think about, y'all. Just throwing it out there, a lot of questions. But I will say, my thoughts are, we have already been in the second wave. The second wave started when they put the world on lockdown because that CD had already been introduced to the world's population. Those are my thoughts. Simply my thoughts. Doesn't mean I'm right. Time will tell. Anyways, that's it. Hope everybody stays safe. Peace.